Hi YouTube. I'm coming at you with a bit of a different video this time. The Toontown Rewritten Battle Rebalancing Patch Notes from the playtest that they just released today. Not to the public yet. The playtest has come with, obviously, a lot of the new content of the facilities and facility managers, but there's also going to be a lot of changes to the battle system, which is really, I was not expecting that at all. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. Unscripted, you know, we're just going to go through it. And tomorrow, as soon as the VODs of the live streams come out, I'll do a video about the bosses themselves. But for today, it's just the battle balances. So let's see what we've got. Starting off, we got COG Battle Calculations. We're going to go over some of the calculation changes that revolve around GAG balancing. Changes are interesting because solo play is entirely unimpacted, while grouped battles may feel the impact depending on your GAG choices, such as taking advantage of numerous tune-up gags that had previously provided an immense accuracy boost for lore gags. That is very interesting what we've got going on. Stunning is getting a huge nerf, you could say. Trap placements, successful lores, rewards, rewards, doodle tricks, and Tuneup no longer grant stun bonuses. I think that's kind of insane. But we'll get to that when we get to a much later point about lore, as you can see down here. Damage dealing gag attacks, such as trap activating, sound, throw, squirt, they now provide a stun boost of 25% rather than just 20%. That's also quite interesting. Those will mostly be affecting drop gags, but they'll be a lot more effective for drop gags. A big problem, well, not necessarily a problem. Toontown Rewritten doesn't have as many passive accuracy boosts as Corporate Clash has, besides SOS cards. But if you're not using those, you're not really getting lots of accuracy boosts when you're using stuns. This should make stuns a lot easier for just one gag to stun, like a drop, for example. Now, Squirt 3 drop is going to be a 75% for the drops instead of just 70%. So that's not bad. Lore considered less reliable? Yes, but we have something new to accommodate for that. To help lore synergize with itself. I'm gonna say that for later. I have some opinions about that. Is Trap considered nerfed? Yeah, because lore has pretty low accuracy and it's not getting stunned. But, we're gonna go away from all of that nonsense and look at this battle panel interface change. Yada yada yada. Visible health numbers on the cogs themselves. Our vision with the combat system is intentionally played off as guesstimating forms of strategy. I don't know how to feel about that, but we are getting something really good instead, which is we're changing the color indicator to a health bar indicator. That is so huge. For accessibility, for one thing. Health information for... This flunky's level 50. It's a 2.0 level 50. But anyway, the health information for cogs has been exclusively depicted through color. You know, green, yellow, orange, red. It really only let you see 4 states of cog health and only through color. Now, it's a health bar, which will still be in color, but obviously if you can't see color, you can see how much of the bar is remaining. It's a little frustrating that they're not doing specific numeric hit points. I feel like that would make the game a lot more accessible skill-wise, but this is much better than what we had before, so I'm gonna take it. The health bar looks pretty nice for one thing, but it's also just such a needed addition to the game to let us see, you know, a pretty basic statistic in fights. yeah, there's not really much more to say about that. I don't think I need to tell you why health bars are a good addition to this game. But that brings us to the much more interesting part, KAG balancing. Starting out, we've got Tuneup, which is getting an organic boost, actually. Its organic boost is going from 10% to 20%. That's a little interesting. I think it's pretty interesting because obviously organic boosts have always been 10% since 2003, or whenever gardening was added. They've always been 10%. I think this is really interesting just for that precedent that it's setting. But it's a lot more interesting because Tuneup, I think, has been in a really awkward spot for all of Toontown Online and Toontown Rewritten. Before the boiler, Tuneup was not really necessary because you just didn't take damage at all. After the field office update, Tuneup is in, it's kind of good, but it's in a weird spot because there's just so many other ways to heal that are better. There's Unites, there's Doodles, there's SOS cards, and there's, of course, remotes, which are a pretty popular choice in the boiler fight. All of those things don't require you to change your build to fit them. Everybody gets boss rewards, everybody can buy Doodles. Not everybody can take Tuneup without it affecting the rest of their gags. So Tuneup has always been kind of awkward, but this change should allow people who have Tuneup to really focus in on the gag, to focus in on being a healer, and I really appreciate that. This 20% boost will change Pixie Dust from like 60 to 72 healing, I think. That's pretty big. That's a pretty big number to just throw around. Tuneup is better at single target healing than any of the rewards are, because all rewards are for healing the entire party. So this should help that out a little bit. I think maybe some buffs to single target healing would be good. I don't know. They did nerf Pixie Dust, I think, in the field office update, actually, so even though that's not what they want to do. But anyway, we're going on to Throw, which is getting an organic bonus nerf, actually, from a 10% to a 5% boost. This is pretty strange, because if you'll see here, it says, and I quote, "Keep in mind that this still keeps most of the popular combinations intact, such as the classic level 11 organic cake one-shot and the level 5 cream pie one-shot." Throw has always been the best organic gag since 2003 or whenever gardening came out, because of how it interacts with regular cogs, which is all that TTO had. So this change isn't really affecting those interactions, but it is affecting interactions with bosses. I mean, this is going to make Boiler a little bit longer. This is going to make all of the new supervisors a little bit longer. So I guess that's really why they wanted this change, to make Throw a little weaker. Probably also in contrast to Drop, a little bit weaker too, against some of these new bosses. Especially because they probably want Drop to be the boss killer for regular Cog Bosses, the supervisors. Again, I'll get to those tomorrow, but this Throw choice will be affecting them quite a bit, I would assume. Lore. We got a whole page about lore, so you can tell it's going to be a lot. Base accuracies have been buffed. From accuracies for lore gags have classically been 50, 60, 70. Now it's 60, 65, 70. A similar, staircase of increasing accuracies, but starting out at a much better point at 60%. But that comes with a really weird new mechanic, but let's talk about the accuracy logic first. Higher leveled lore gags now override the base accuracy of lower leveled lore gags when used simultaneously. That's great. Prevents griefing, prevents a lack of skill that results in griefing, That's a good change. Organic lore now shifts the base accuracy of lore by an additional 10%, rather than being an additive bonus. Oh, that just mainly affects the previous change, so that organic lore should now work better with overriding lower accuracy lores. Multi-lore mechanic lore bonus. Multiple lore gags of the same type used simultaneously now grant a bonus 20% accuracy per additional lore gag. That's of the same targeting type, so group lore to group lore, single to single. This is a very weird change, I'm not gonna lie. It removes stun, essentially, from the combat system because there are two gags, really, that you're going to be stunning for. Drop gags, which you're not going to stun for most of the time, and lore gags, which have really interesting stun inputs and really interesting outputs on the rest of the turn for the lore being able to get stunned. Lore stun is such a huge... Well, rather, stunning for lore is such a huge part of the combat system, it's kind of the thing that defines the Toontown combat system. I think it's really bizarre that they're just getting rid of it altogether. They're just axing the centerpiece of Toontown combat. And as for this new mechanic, I mean, I get it. Lore has classically been way too overpowered for just one person to have it. Because big magnets are basically all you need, and you get so many of them storage-wise. You get big magnets, you get hypnos, and that's all you're going to need for most fights. So I understand that they added this in specifically so that multiple people who have lore gags need to work together to use them. The specific terminology I believe they said was having lore synergize with itself. Man, I don't know. I think it's a lot more interesting for lore to synergize with other gags. You're not really doing anything strategic or really additive by luring multiple times in a turn. You know, like, if I use multiple throw gags, that's dealing extra damage, or spreading the damage to multiple cogs. Using multiple group lures isn't anything. It's just, I want to lure, but I really want it to work. It's just bizarre. It's just bizarre. Adding this change will require players to take full turns of, 2 to 3 lore gags to get a good accuracy lure in. It's going to slow down the game. It's going to slow down the game, it's going to remove stun for lore, and it's going to remove so many interesting synergies of gags alongside lore, specifically on the turn that the lore is used. So, I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking with this one, honestly. I mean, I might have to see it more in practice, but this seems a little misguided to me, I'm going to be honest. But anyway, sound. This is also a full page, but it's mostly about whatever this is, which is just to say that sound is really, really good. And we want it to be less singularly dominating. So, in an attempt to make sound less of a monolith in this combat system, they decreased the carrying capacity to what trap gags used to have pre-field office, TTO, trap gag capacity. That is a pretty interesting change. They mention it here, but I'm going to get into it later, that the wave content, department bosses and facilities will have less cogs. So sound might not be necessary to have, all of these gags for. But they would have to just balance it right. They just need to have the perfect amount of cogs that using non-sound gags on full sets of cogs is fun. Or maybe, I don't know, have waves in Cog Bosses that aren't a full set of 4 cogs. That would make it feel much better to not have to use sound gags. But I don't know what they're going to do with that. The gag experience thresholds are being changed to, I believe this is, this isn't throw, it's more like trap, I would say. More like a trap level of experience, which is a lot more even. Sound had a really awkward level curve where you got Foghorn and you were basically almost done maxing it. So I think that makes sense. Drop is actually not getting a change at all. This is just a very funny little joke that Drop's accuracy is being described now as very low because its accuracy is 50%. That's funny. It's not really anything. It's just going to be kind of funny. Trap This is actually a really good change. Trap is getting the experience required to unlock Quicksand lowered from 800 to 500, which is great because trap gangs, you unlock them at the earliest in the Berg, and the lowest level cogs there are level 5. The lowest trap gang does like 10 damage, so they're really bad in the Berg. You're still going to have to grind them from level 1, but at least getting them to a usable point is a lot quicker than what it was before, which is good because those 500 experience points are just going to be you grinding them outside of the quest line, because you're not going to be in the Berg grinding with level 1, level 2 trap. Level 7 gag carrying capacity. This is pretty interesting. A bit of a curve towards implementing more player choice when it comes to gag builds. If you have completed the Cellbot Task Force, as you may know, you get to select one particular gag track to have an extra level 7 of, to have 2 level 7 gags. They're adding in a new side quest that allows you to make that choice again. It allows you to choose a different gag track to have an extra level 7 slot. They do specifically mention that this optional toon task will be extremely tedious to deter constant swapping. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know why you wouldn't want player choice to be accessible, but at least they're giving the players choices. It's a lot better than how organic gags do it, where you have to wait weeks, like up to 3 weeks. But anyway, reinforced plating. Oh my god, this is one that I'm a little disappointed about. I will preface this by saying that the Field Office update, version 3, man, I honestly don't like Field Offices that much. I don't like a lot of the mechanics, I don't like a lot of the status effects. I really don't like the boiler as a boss fight. But one great addition that update brought was reinforced plating. I think this mechanic was perfect. It played so well with the way Toontown Rewritten's resources work, which they are changing, so I mean it makes sense to want to look over this mechanic again. But I should actually say what's happening with it. They're removing the defense attribute that blocked damage per gag based on the level of the version 2.0 cog. So I should say I don't know what that means. That could mean that they're removing defense from reinforced plating, or it could mean they're removing the level scaling of defense from reinforced plating. If they were removing the level scaling, I think they would just say, we're changing the defense from level times 1.5 to just 10, or something like that. So I think they're removing the defense attribute altogether, which is a really bad change, in my opinion. In my personal opinion, obviously, you can disagree with me. You're a rational adult or a rational human being. You're allowed to have your own opinions. Reasonable people will disagree. When a version 2.0 cog is destroyed and transforms into a Skelecog, they will now be able to still attack toons, rather than skipping their turn. That, in combination with the removal of the defense mechanic, I think is just misguided. I'll say it's misguided. Obviously, a lot of people don't like the reinforced plating mechanic. It's really confusing because the specific way it works is not well explained at all. I don't think it's explained at all in-game. But it was such a good mechanic for making it specifically targeted sound by reducing damage linearly, or additively, I should say. Sound's low base damage was heavily affected. It was a great mechanic because it forced you to prioritize these, little mini-bosses, these 2.0s, and then once they're vulnerable, once you've got a set of exposed cogs, you earn the right to sound through that set. It was such a good system, and they're getting rid of that and changing it to be 2.0 cogs are now guaranteed to deal damage to you. That just doesn't seem remotely the same. I don't know. I'd have to see it in action, I guess. I just feel like this is, I'm not going to enjoy this change. But I'm open-minded. I'll see how they do it. Promotion experience calculations. All cogs are now going to have double their experience. Previously, double their merit gain, I should say. Promotion experience. Previously, it was cog level divided by 2 was how many merits you would get. Now it's just the cogs level. So, level 9 Cellbot cogs now grant 9 merits instead of 5, which is 9 divided by 2, rounded up. Version 2.0 cogs will also drop twice the amount, so a level 9 2.0 boss bot grants 18 stock options rather than just 9, and rather than just 5. So that's a pretty big increase. Promotion requirements are... I want to talk about this again. This is doubling all merit yields, and potentially doubling them again for boss bots, which is obviously the most, shall we say, hearty grind. I think that's a fantastic change. But anyway, promotion requirements. Now, I can't speak to the veracity of these changes. I have not maxed in this game. I've never really gone past, like, early Hollywood levels, so I couldn't tell you if these are monumental changes. But, they do say up here, they want to reduce the amount of grind you're going to be doing. So, this is what this is going to be. Earning a Hollywood promotion. Seems like it's going to be a lot less for a lot of these levels. Cashbot promotion. Lawbot. Bossbot? Bossbot only goes up to 8,020, which is like a third of what it was before, so that's, I can tell you, without the experience of grinding CEO in TTR, that's huge. That is absolutely, monumental. Cog facilities, Cog bosses. I will be talking about the facilities tomorrow in the video about the bosses specifically, but for both of these, they're saying that they want to reduce the number of cogs per fight, but maybe increase the complexity of these fights, specifically by reducing how many sound gags you have. I think that is really interesting. I mean, they don't specify how they're going to do it, like how many cogs the CJ and CEO are going to have, but it's definitely the right direction, so I'd love to see where they go with that. I'd love to see these fights get trimmed down to the point where they're fun and well-paced, but not too easy, obviously. They are bosses. I mean, they're the endgame bosses. But anyway, KAG Attacks is a pretty interesting one. Obviously, Cellbots have tons of AoE attacks, Lawbots have plenty of AoE attacks, Cashbots have none, Bossbots have none. No, I think Robber Barons have some, but outside of that, Cashbots, Bossbots, and even Lawbots to a degree have not enough AoE attacks. Target all attacks, I should say. So they're going to be adding more target all attacks to even out the distribution, to give each department more of these more threatening attacks. But specifically, they're going to do that in the fashion of giving cogs new attacks, completely brand new, like not in the game before attacks, and especially by giving tier 8 cogs new signature attacks. That's not really a... Well, the target all attacks is going to be a gameplay change. New signature attacks isn't a gameplay change, per se. It's still just cogs dealing damage. But visually, I think that's going to be good. It's going to be really good. I don't know. I couldn't say how cool these attacks are going to be. But that is... it's a good change. Definitely the right direction to be sipping in. Thank you for reading, yada yada yada. Playtesting. Playtesting is going to be available to all players. I'd have to check. They have it on the blog, on the Toontown Rewritten blog, on the website. It'll be available to all players, I believe, sometime at the end of February or the beginning of March. So, I'm looking forward to that. I'm sure most of you are looking forward to that. But yeah, that's basically it. The lore changes, I'm not really so sure about. The 2.0 changes, man, I'm a little upset about, I'm not gonna lie. But a lot of these changes look really interesting, and I feel like they would make the game a lot better. So I'm really looking forward to these. Especially this. Health bars, huge. Level 50 flunkies, huge. These are the patch notes for just the battle changes. Like I said, tomorrow I will be doing the boss review video. But I'm really looking forward to this nonetheless. Thank you for watching. Thank you to Toontown Rewritten for making the game so good, you know, making these patch notes, letting us see what they're working on. And remember, Tunes of the World, I don't really think of a joke for this one. Tunes of the World. Don't grind facilities so much, honestly.